Windows tablet first with built-in controllers, and it says Legion on the back. Now, as far as introductions go, I know that's a pretty lousy one, but I have a good reason for it, but I'll get into that in a bit. A portable device like this on which you can play practically any PC game and also run your regular software applications on for close to 800 Canadian dollars, including 150 discount, is a remarkable achievement. I've been waiting for such a device for a very long time, and I'm very excited to finally get my hands on this. However, there's no running away from the fact that there is a little bit of a learning curve involved to those who are new to PC gaming. Since this does not have that fluid-like console-level user experience, I fear many out there might get frustrated a short while after they start using the Go because of that reason. And I don't want that. I really don't want that, because we need devices like this to save and nurture the next generation of PC gamers. We're a dying breed, you know. So I just want to set your expectations straight and avoid any buyer's remorse. But playing Forza Horizon 5 at 1080p, near 60 frames a second at high settings on a handheld is crazy nice. If you show this very cool gadget sometime in patience, I promise you, you will find a great gaming companion in here for you. Now, before I proceed, I have finally reached 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all very much. I certainly appreciate all the support and encouragement. So to celebrate, I'll be sending a small gift to one of you who've helped me reach 1,000 subscribers. Just comment below by telling me which of the current handheld gaming devices on the market right now you're most interested in, and after 2 weeks of the release of this video, I will reach out to the randomly selected winner. Those of you who are new to the channel and are into tech and gaming and find my content to be useful, please do consider liking and subscribing. Now, at this point, the internals of the Legion Go are not much of a mystery. It is an all AMD CPU with RDNA2 integrated graphics. It comes with 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X fast RAM, dealing frequencies up to 7500 megahertz. I have 512 gigs of storage in here, plus a micro SD slot for expansion and an 8.8-inch QHD Plus display. Getting 3 months of Xbox Game Pass is also pretty sweet. It means you can get right into playing your games from a very large library of popular titles from the get-go. At the time of my review during February 2024, the Go has been discounted to $799 Canadian dollars. Not so sure if that might be the case now. I think that's pretty amazing considering the competition. The Asus Ally at the time of the recording was $900 Canadian dollars, and it's not even as well endowed as a Go. For a similar price though, you could get a Lenovo LOQ gaming laptop with an RTX 3050 and an AMD CPU. I will do a comparison between those two devices to also let you know what is better value for money, so get subscribed for that upcoming review. Now, personally found that 512 gigs of storage was not enough for me to carry around enough of my games, so I ordered a 1TB drive from Amazon. It had to be Gen 4 and the 2242 format. This is a configuration that I found rather difficult to find at this time, but you could also get the 2230 variant, but you'd need an adapter for it. Whatever you do, just make sure you've got the right prying tools and take your time to unwrap the shielding around the current SSD in here, because I messed up mine. You could also get a micro SD card instead, but know that games running off the micro SSD might take twice as long just to load between different scenes, and it also might suffer from random stuttering, so you might notice that, unless it's a low resource game. 1TB I think is pretty sufficient for you to carry a collection of light and heavy games. I got an unfamiliar brand for the SSD. It's called KingSpec. However, I was very surprised. I got very good speeds on it compared to the Western Digital drive that I got on this originally from Lenovo. Honestly, my advice is, if you're getting the 1TB version in your region, just get that one and try not to save money on it. Just get that one and skip all of this drama. My gaming experience on this far exceeded my expectations. I really didn't think I'd get this level of quality and performance on a handheld. Where is the pixelation? Where are the jagged edges? We really have come quite far, so well done AMD. I think this is a big leap from my original experience with the Steam Deck that I had gotten last year. I mean, I'm playing Starfield on this at an acceptable visual quality and acceptable frame rates. Sure, on AAA titles, my average visual quality settings was mostly around medium-ish to low, and sometimes even high, unlike the ultra max settings that I'm usually used to on my high-performance gaming laptops. But here's the thing, on a screen of this size, somehow that lack of extra detail or quality is just not that very noticeable. In fact, I don't even know how to explain this, but even frame rates, they don't seem as low as they actually are. Like, I would notice like a dip below 60 frames per second on my gaming laptop easily, but here it's like 30-40 frames a second, still feel like 60 frames per second. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's just how our perception changes when we go from a bigger screen to a small screen. You should be seeing on screen right now the average performance results that I got from benchmarks from within the games that I usually play, just to give you a sense of the raw numbers. I ran all these benchmarks at the full HD resolution, so 1200p or 1080p as you want to call it, even though the screen supports QHD+. Well, the reason for that, I think QHD is a bit of an overkill on a screen size like this. Like my Legion right next to me has QHD, and you can tell the difference between 1080p and QHD on this for sure. But on a screen like this, sure, it adds a bit more sharpness to it, but the trade-off with frames per second, it just didn't make sense to me. So for less demanding titles like Rocket League, you can easily enjoy the extra crisp resolution on this. It is nice that Legion has given us that option over the competition, but 1080p is more than enough for me. Also, I kept the device in its performance mode throughout the benchmarks as well. I do maintain, however, these figures really don't mean much, at least to me, because of that smaller screen. Everything just looks nicer than they actually would on a bigger screen on this. By the way, the buttons on these controllers, they kind of feel nice. I like the tactility of it. It's got a nice clicky feel to it. We've got Hall effect joysticks in here that can eliminate stick drift. If you play a AAA title on this on its max performance mode, you should be getting around 90 to 120 minutes per charge. I know that doesn't sound good, but it sure is better compared to your gaming laptops. Also, gaming laptops need to remain plugged in to give you like that level of performance. Naturally, less demanding games would give you more battery time. Also about that, use a power delivery 3.1 compliant charger that comes with it, just so that you can charge it up from the 0 to 100 in close to 60 minutes. I also plugged in the Go into my TV using a hub and added an extra SSD as well, just so that I can extend the library of games when I'm connected to a TV. I stuck to the 1200p resolution and things still look pretty good on the big screen. But even at 4K, the Go was actually doing better than I expected. I ran Forza Horizon 5 on this and I got around 30 frames a second on medium settings, but like I said, on the big screen, 30 frames a second was very noticeable, so I immediately went back to 1200p. But this isn't just about the latest and greatest. You can properly enjoy older titles that you may have missed. For example, I'm personally looking forward to playing Dishonored on this, Fallout New Vegas. These will look great on the go with awesome frame rates and maxed out settings, and thanks to Game Pass, I could download them right away and get right into it. Other than the games that I benchmarked, I also really enjoyed playing Sifu on this. It's a classic beat 'em up in a third-person format, and it did not require precision aim because personally, I am pretty bad at using a gamepad for, first-person shooters. I'm a mouse kind of guy. Now that is interesting because that is exactly what the Go aimed to overcome. You see there's a switch at the bottom of the right controller and you can flip it, and this very vertical object becomes a mouse. That to me sounded pretty crazy. And yes, the controllers on both sides are also removable, and I find it pretty easy to remove as well. Legion really did put on their thinking hats to set themselves apart from the competition, and surprisingly, in a way, they kind of pulled it off, because I went into it thinking that this is kind of gimmicky. You also get like a little base in the packaging that magnetically attaches to the bottom so that it could stand on its own, but I found it easy to use without it as well, just so you know you don't have to lug it around everywhere. I actually tested how much my aiming accuracy is getting affected using this very strange mouse. It took a bit of getting used to, but eventually I was able to match the score that I had made using my Razer mouse on the SteelSeries Aim Trainer app, and I think that's a big achievement. Clearly I'm not good with the mouse either, but hey, with a bit of practice you can get good at this. My only gripe with this is when you switch into FPS mode, your games will think like there's now a keyboard and mouse connected, and obviously this does not have a lot of the buttons that a keyboard does. Legion has provided some extra buttons on the back to overcome that, but there's still not as much. There's a default key mapping in the software that you can tune later as to what each of these keys do, and if you're serious about this, you may have to spend some time sort of mapping out what each of these buttons can do, but I think you might hit a dead end. For example, the AB, XY keys get disabled, you can't use those. So eventually I just got myself a portable keyboard. This could still be a mouse and I could do the rest of my keys from here. Now that is not the only reason why you would get a portable keyboard with the Go. You see, Windows as an operating system requires a bit of polish when it comes to its touch interface. Now it is impossible for you to reach this touchscreen keyboard, even if you do have freakishly long monkey's fingers or thumbs. So you'll have to hold it in one hand and type on this one key at a time, like your grandparents or your parents, depending on how old you are. And it's not like this is a light device. This weighs 860 grams. Though I think despite that, I kind of managed the weight fine in all sort of position that I could play this in. You can use this mini version of this keyboard and stick it to one side so that you can sort of reach out with one thumb to type out whatever you want to. It is for this reason that you should familiarize yourself with some of the shortcuts that Legion has built in here. Using the Legion key and the B shortcut, you can force the keyboard to come up, and that is useful because when you press an empty text field, the keyboard sometimes does not show up. So there is also a shortcut for Control-Alt-Delete for you to manage through your task manager using the Legion and A shortcut, but there's no shortcut for, say, Windows D or Alt F4. Those you can access with this side drawer that you can have from the settings key on the top right, and then going into the wrench icon, and you'll find some other quick settings in there as well. I do wish you could customize this in the drawer and also the combination of keys as well. And this is just the start of your problems. Unlike a console, you can't just buy this and just get right to business. Using Windows as Legion Go's operating system is its biggest weakness and also its biggest strength. On one hand, you'll have to go through some housekeeping like you do for any Windows device, so that includes doing your updates, making sure your drivers are installed and working, making sure the applications in your store are all updated as well, and a bunch of other things, and also doing some troubleshooting from time to time. And on the other hand, you have access to a huge library of your games across all the different various platforms like Steam and Epic and Ubisoft and Battle.net, your custom emulators, and even your regular productivity apps like Office or even video editing. So to make the best of these applications, it made sense to me to just get a keyboard. Actually, I think Legion should introduce like a Microsoft Surface type keyboard that you can just flip up, and that could also protect the screen. There is a Type-C port underneath. Just a little quick tip on the Windows front, you could enable hibernate mode from the power settings because Windows 11 has this thing called modern standby, which is really dumb, and what it does is it basically keeps the device on. The screen will only turn off, and what happened to me was I pressed the power button and I threw it in my bag, and a few hours later when I pulled it out, it was boiling hot because it kept running in a closed environment. So that's not healthy, and B, I had no battery left by the time I took it out. So hibernate mode really does put it in an off state and then consumes little to no power. Now, to make the best of this device on its own, you should be comfortable with switching between its performance settings. Legion offers you 3 presets. You can run it in quiet mode or its auto mode or the balance mode and its performance mode. Basically, this will impact 3 things: the amount of fan noise, the amount of performance of the frames per second that you get, and the battery life. So in performance mode, you get the highest frame rate possible, but you'll get the lowest amount of battery life and you'll get the highest amount of fan noise as well. Now for the fan noise, I have to admit, even in its max fan speed mode, the sound is whooshy and it's not tinny, and I don't mind it. It's not very loud. Now if you're new to PC gaming, the term thermal mode with TDP in brackets already might sound a little bit unnecessarily technical. I mean, why? A, Legion should make more efforts to explain this a little bit better, and B, should the system not automatically adjust the settings based on whatever application that you're running? There should be such an option, but Legion is again targeting your typical PC gamers here who usually want the facility of being able to cap the amount of performance you can get. So this can be useful if you're okay with getting lower frame rates but getting a longer battery life, for example, if you're traveling for a long time, so that's fine. There's also another thing called RSR or Radeon Super Resolution, and it's just a switch. No explanation as to what this does, and even I had to look it up and what it does. Basically, this has to do with upscaling, which is also difficult to explain. When switched on, you can get a better frame rates with a little bit of a hit on the visual quality, and this is at a driver level, so this can be applied across all of the games or applications that you're running. You also get a little bit of customization on the RGB on your controller. You get 2 to 3 settings. It could either be a solid color, or it could be breathing, or it could be the circular motion that I have here. You can also choose the color that you want. These lights can also get pretty bright. Listen, this video would be hours long if I start to go through all of the settings. What I'm just trying to say is there may be again a little bit of a learning curve. You'll have to be patient to go through with this. Now, do not despair. Legion has provided some creature comforts, and it's not a half-assed effort actually. The detachable controllers, being Legion's party trick, means that when you plug this into your TV, you can just simply walk back and sit on your couch and continue playing your game. Now, this is nothing special since the Nintendo Switch has already done this quite a while ago, but this is a first for a Windows device, okay? Now, yes, there is some bad news. You can't just give one controller to a mate so that you can have like a couch co-op or couch gaming session. That is too bad, but you can connect an Xbox adapter to this and get several of these controllers, which are much more comfortable to use. You can also connect a keyboard and a mouse and wireless headphones, whatever peripherals you want. Thanks to the 2 Type-C ports that you get here, one at the top, one at the bottom, and both of them support DisplayPort 1.4, USB 4, and Thunderbolt 3. It's a Windows device. Anything's possible. You can also just stick the screen on the table using its built-in kickstand, which is very sturdy, and it means that your hands could be in any position with its detached controllers. You can probably even try to play your games with your hands in your pockets. I mean, that would look a little bit weird, but you can still do it. The right controller also has a trackpad so that you can control your mouse cursor on screen. There's also a scroll wheel on the back for that easy navigation, but when it's connected to the device, it's very difficult to simultaneously use your thumb on the trackpad and your finger on the scroll wheel together. That is because of the FPS mode design. With the controllers disconnected, I can even shove the Go in my pocket, albeit in 3 pieces. Sure, it might look a little bit silly, but you can't do that with a regular Windows laptop now, can you? Legion has also developed an overlay for Windows to manage that complexities that I mentioned earlier, so it can give you like that console-like user experience, but I found it to be a little bit sluggish and it's not very user-friendly as well for you to choose between your games on that. It's called Legion Space. You can bring it up using that Legion key on the top left. You have your game library in there, which can give you exclusive discounts for using a Legion device. You can use it to adjust things like the dead zone on your joysticks, or the RGB settings, or the performance mode, the fan curves, all of that good stuff. It does feel a little bit sluggish and not very well integrated. It can take like a second to bring up on screen, which doesn't feel great. Hopefully with time they can fix that. I have the 3 major complaints with the Go at a hardware level. So it's not an AMD issue, it's not a Microsoft issue, it's a Legion issue. Number 1, the speaker sound quality and volume is purely underwhelming, just very flat. I would always have to use headphones. Number 2, the haptics in this controller are probably borrowed from a smartwatch. Actually, even this Huawei Watch 4 has better haptics. I'll be reviewing this watch later, by the way. I mean, these controllers, they don't vibrate, they buzz. It's just plain annoying. There are no haptics in the triggers either, so major fail. And third, there is no fingerprint login on this like the Asus Ally has. Typing in passwords is very last decade now. So I want to conclude, if you're getting the Legion Go, it should not be for its graphical prowess, but it is the ability to virtually keep any PC game on hand with you with very acceptable quality and frame rates. Obviously, its main focus is portability, but it has all the potential to become your primary go-to gaming device rather than being an extension to your gaming desktop or laptop or console. I love the Legion Go and it suits my lifestyle currently very well. When you have a spouse and a kid, you need to be visible, okay? No matter where I am, inside or outside the house, I can just whip the Legion Go out and get a bit of game time in. And that somehow makes it easier for me to stay connected with my games while staying relatively safe from the judgment of being a child because I play video games. Not sure if there are others out there that can relate to this scenario, but I would love to hear from you on this. The Legion Go is a great way to reach out to the uninitiated console gamers or today's young teenagers and convert them to the religion of the PC master race. But Legion needs to calm down a bit on unloading technical scripture on them. So that's it from me. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you found my content to be useful. Do like and subscribe. Until next time.